In the world, there are people who teach hate and there are people who teach peace. Who do you think will be more remembered, people who teach hate or people who teach peace? In the next few minutes, I'll be telling you about two people that taught hate and two people that taught peace. The two people that taught hate are Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. The two people that taught peace are Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. I will try to show you both sides and prove my point for each person.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
The first person I'll be talking to you about is Martin Luther King Jr. He was remembered for teaching peace. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15, 1929. Martin Luther King was famous for his civil rights movement, like the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The March on Washington was for political and social injustice. That Sunday, the marchers chose peace, not violence. They sat around and socialized and watched all the performances that day. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist minister and social activist who played a key role in the American civil rights movement. I think history will remember him as a civil rights activist, a preacher, and someone that stood up for their rights. Martin was assassinated by a firearm on April 14, 1968. Something Martin Luther King always said, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great of a burden to bear."
Against overwhelming odds, he achieved his dream of equality for all South Africans. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918 in a small South African village. His father, a tribal chief, gave his son the name Rolihlahla. At the age of 7, he began his British education.
The second person I will be talking to you about is Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was famous for teaching peace. Nelson Mandela was born July 18, 1918 in the tiny village of Menzele on the banks of Tanzania, South Africa. Mandela was famous for being an activist for the apartheid, and he helped end it. Mandela stood up against the government that was committing abuse to black South Africans. Mandela was arrested, convicted of conspiracy to overthrow the state, and sentenced to life in prison. Mandela only served 27 years in prison. Mandela was the first black president of South Africa. He was president from 1994 to 1999. Mandela will be remembered as a leader and a civil rights activist, and as one of the first black presidents of South Africa. One thing Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." The third person I'll be talking to you about is Adolf Hitler. Hitler is famous for teaching hate. Adolf Hitler was born April 20th, 1889 in Austria. Hitler was not a German citizen. He was originally from Austria. He wanted to become leader. He had rallies and speeches. He persuaded the poor Germans to love him. The Nazi Party decided to make Hitler leader. Hitler hated Jews. He hated them so much he made camps for them to be killed and made them do labor. Hitler made the final solution. This was when the Germans took the Jewish and put them in camps. Hitler had a friend Mussolini. They were allies until Hitler betrayed him. Mussolini inspired Hitler for all the stuff he did. Hitler killed over 11 million people. I think history will remember him as someone who manipulated many people and someone who made people think that Jews were harmful and they were not. Something Hitler said, to conquer a nation, first disarm its citizens.
He was Il Duce. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be learning more about the life of Benito Mussolini. Benito Amilcare Andrea Mussolini was born July 29, 1883, in Predapio, Italy. Due to his father's political inclinations, he was named
The
after
fourth person I'll be talking to you about is Benito Mussolini. Benito Mussolini was famous for teaching hate. Benito Mussolini was born July 29, 1883, in Italy. Mussolini rose to power in World War I. Mussolini made a system that the state had all power. The system was called fascism. In this system, everybody must follow the rules and work for the government. And if they do not do what they're told, they get punished. Mussolini and Hitler were allies. They shared ideas for taking over their countries. Mussolini was double-crossed by his ally Hitler and killed shortly after the Germans surrendered in Italy in 1945. Something Mussolini said was fascism should be more appropriately be called corporatism because it is a merger of state and corporate power.
Il Popolo d'Italia. In 1915, Mussolini rejoined the army and served in the war before an injury sent him back to his newspaper job.
So now, who do you think had more influence? People that taught hate or people that taught peace? I think people that taught peace had more influence on people because they helped people realize how mean people were. Why I think peace had more influence is because for Martin Luther King Jr., we would not have many of the civil rights we have today.